Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune. Joining me once again is Shea Dixon. Shea, it is Friday, November 8th, 10 a.m., and we're here talking about LSU versus Alabama, a de facto elimination game. I love it. I mean, I've come around on the 12-team playoff so much over the past, 5 months just because games actually started being played and we got to see the bracket and everything, and I'm just like, all right, cool, give me more football.
You were anti.
I don't know if I was anti. I wanted like 6. I felt like 6 was a perfect number because you get like buys and 4. But 12. Heck, I'm here. Whatever.
I mean, LSU, it's not going to keep you that engaged if you're an LSU fan. Perhaps it will, but they could lose this game and still have chaos reign
Yeah,
the rest of the way. And then all these teams end up with 2 SEC losses with nobody unblemished right now. That's the thing. Nobody's sitting on no losses in the conference with 4 games left is a big deal.
yeah. So that's
And a win this
obviously
weekend obviously would be control your own destiny still.
for sure, for sure. And yeah, still 3 games after this one to go. But this is by far, we knew going into the season that this was going to be a huge game. We didn't know how good, we knew Alabama would be good. We didn't know if they'd be, they picked right back up where they left off. But under Kalen DeBoer, they've been fairly inconsistent. 2 losses in conference play, Vanderbilt and Tennessee, both on the road, which is significant because this game is also on the road for them. And we've previewed everything on the Bengal Tiger On3. We will talk about a lot of it here, but for all of the in-depth stuff from the whole staff, go check out the Bengal Tiger On3 over there. Anything else you want to plug before we get going?
Well, we will remind everybody again about the Whataburger truck that we talked about
Yes.
earlier in the week. It will be at the southwest corner of the stadium, so where Nicholson meets what would be South Stadium Drive, and then the other side is Skip Burtman as you go towards like the old baseball stadium and the river. But right there at the corner, can't miss it. But the truck has been going around from NFL games to college games. Now they're doing the Baton Rouge Bama stop. So you'll have game day out there to start the day. You'll have Whataburger out there all day long. Um, again, at the corner of Nicholson and South Stadium, so prime location, right when you're walking into kind of that admin parking lot area on the west side of the stadium.
Yeah.
And they'll be grilling up burgers, Matty B, all day long. We'll roll by there, say what's up to them. I know we've got some folks from Nashville coming down. So, yeah, On3 back in Whataburger, which is a good choice for me. I love Whataburger. And as a South Texan, you do too.
Yes. Yes, I do. That was a staple throughout my entire life. So, yes, not a problem with that. We love Whataburger there. Go
I
ahead.
actually like everything at Whataburger. I'll eat the chicken tenders. I'll eat the chicken tender
Everything.
basket thing. Onion rings are probably my
Everything.
go-to there. I'll eat
Yeah.
the
My
Whataburger.
go-to is patty melt. Patty melt
Ooh.
is definitely the
Everybody
go-to.
loves the honey chicken biscuit.
Honey chicken biscuit, people love that. Yeah, Whataburger, shout out to them,
Yeah,
and their
shout out
support
Whataburger.
for us. All right, which side of the ball do you want to start with here?
Kick me off real quick. This isn't gospel ever, but you reference it often. Bill Connolly puts a lot of work into his stuff with SP Plus. Where's Bama and LSU? I know they're ranked by the playoff committee at Bama's 11, LSU's 15. Um, where
Let
are
me
they
see.
in kind of your SP Plus view?
Let me get it.
Bill
Let me
Connolly's,
get
I
it
should say.
on off the not off the top, but I was not prepared.
I'm looking at
Um,
the story he just did on Bama
okay.
LSU, and he kind of broke it all down, but he gives a lot of different metrics for the two teams.
Yeah. Let's see. I found the SP Plus Week 8 one that has LSU 11, Alabama 7. Let's see, SP Plus. What week are we in now? 11, I think.
Correct. Bill Connolly does have this as an elimination-ish
Here it is.
game, but
Yeah.
his ratings are far different than the current line, which has been hanging around 2.5, 3. He's got the SP Plus ranking is Bama by 5.6. FPI would be 7.6. So
He has Bama 6th in the country. He has LSU 12th in the country.
okay,
LSU with the 4th ranked offense, 35th ranked defense, which obviously takes into account opponents and all the other like pace and all these other metrics.
it's just another way to view it. I guess what I was getting at is now like Bama is viewed in a better light than the polls view them by metrics like this that do account for pretty much everything. It's not exact, but it gives you a better grip than I think polls do.
Yeah, and I don't believe that his predictions take into account home field, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe they do, but I thought they don't, which would explain why Bama would be
3
like,
points more,
yeah,
maybe.
a little 3 or 4 points more in his metrics than they are on a betting line that I haven't even looked at. Is it two still right now?
It's been
One
two
and
and a
one.
half, three, whatever it's been.
Yeah,
Bama
so
favored.
that kind of plays into that. But to your point, Alabama is still viewed as the more talented team, the team that I think maybe has, despite the eye test for us, which we've watched a ton of Alabama games, despite the actual results, you still do have those moments where they go to Wisconsin and they blow the doors off them, where they play Missouri and they blow the doors off them. Like you do have those flashes where it's like, okay, if they put it all together, this is what they are. For LSU, you might just have that with the Arkansas game where you have that feeling where it's like, oh, if they put it together, this is what they are. The rest of them have still, both teams have been incredibly inconsistent this year, which makes
Ole Miss,
predicting.
there were spots where it was like, oh boy, like if they could do this routinely for 4 quarters, this would be
Yes. So that's what makes
a good team, a
predicting this
really good
game
team.
so tough for me, in that you don't know what you're going to get from either team really. And I know we've talked about that on the board
Well,
plenty.
Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman on their show this week gave picks, and everyone got mad when they picked Bama in the spread. But I read an article with everything they said, and both of them, who watch every game, just said, "I don't know." And then I was watching, I don't know what it was, maybe Barstool had a gambling thing or a college breakdown thing, and Big Cat and Dave Portnoy were on there, and they both said, "I don't know." And these aren't words being thrown around with every game this weekend. Truly, I think that people look at these two teams and are like, I've seen them be really good this year, and I've also seen them inexplicably be in bad spots.
Yeah, I mean, LSU coming off a absolute collapse against Texas A&M, there you hope
It
that.
feels weird that that was the most recent game played.
Yes. Yes. Definitely isn't comforting, but I still think it was somewhat of an outlier in terms of that performance. But we'll get into all the numbers and on our thoughts here. I promise I won't leave y'all just by saying I don't know who's gonna win. I'll have something concrete, and we already have my keys to the game on the board. We're gonna have our predictions up and everything like that. So let's start with LSU's offense against Alabama's defense. I think that is the less talked about side of the ball because of the Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams guys over there. But I still think it is incredibly interesting. And I think it starts to me with the run game, right? Yeah, we know Palma Bang is going to be sliding in there, starting for Garrett Dellinger. CJ Daniels has been upgraded to probable by Brian Kelly. Chris Hilton is healthy, but Brian Kelly cautions everybody and says he's going to be out there, but don't expect him to be flying around like he has been playing the whole season. Caden Durham, 100% now. So you have the players outside of Dellinger that should be able to score against an Alabama defense that, eye test and result wise has been incredibly streaky this year. I think this is probably the worst secondary play that they've had really in a long time. Nick Saban would always have NFL guys and high level play in the back end. So I think the secondary is a little weaker. The run defense is also taking a step back. They're outside of the top 60 in yards allowed per game on the ground, and even yards per carry. I think they're 38th. So it's a defense that we've seen teams like South Carolina, Vanderbilt, even Tennessee be able to move the ball against. And I think that plays well into what LSU can do, but it's still on LSU to take advantage of that and be able to run the ball consistently and not have to force Nussmeier into throwing the ball 45 plus times like we talked about in the mailbag pod. So finding balance in this game is my absolute number one key to the game. We'll see if they can do it.
I don't know if that, and I think there is also a point where either you're committed to doing that or you have to bail on it, knowing that
Yeah.
you're going to throw the football like they've done this year. They are on standard downs. This is referencing Bill Connolly's article, but First downs, 2nd and 7 or fewer, and then 3rd and 4 or fewer. LSU throws it 58% of the time. That's the 3rd highest in the country. Reason for it, he says, is they are 4th in 9th, top 10 in passing success rate and 93rd in rush. So I just don't know if you find it. It's an easier task, which sounds wild. Alabama's D line isn't what
Yeah.
Texas A&M, Ole Miss, South Carolina, like these ones you faced that are pretty hard to run on. But you're a left guard who can be argued as your best run blocker. Like, does it with a hobbled Caden Durham? I don't know how healthy he is now, coming off of a
Yeah.
bye, which is good, but
Yeah.
I look, trust me, that's what I've said all week, is that I thought that balance. Now I wonder if just Nussmeier not turning the ball over might be the key to the game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think the turnovers, I also include this in my early story this week, in that Alabama's a +7 this year in turnovers. So clearly the turnover battle is, I mean, that's why they beat South Carolina. Remember, Sellers fumbles the ball
Yeah.
early
Yep.
there and loses it basically. But so the turnover margin is clearly important. I think in terms of balance, the only thing I would say is clearly they're not going to be super successful. I think it's relative in terms of just being able to keep a defensive line honest. Like they you mentioned the number, like 100 yards, man. Just get to 100 yards even if it takes
That's been my
25 carries.
standard. If they can get to 100 yards,
If
maybe
it
on
takes
the ground rushing.
Yeah, and even if you pop a 40-yard run and the rest of their carries aren't great, like you just need something to keep the defense honest here. And we've seen against Ole Miss and A&M and even South Carolina, defenses were not kept honest. And Garrett Nussmeier trying to overcome that, he's not good enough to do that consistently. And that's where they fall into it. Now, the Ole Miss and the South Carolina games, they ended up winning. So, who you find a way, you do whatever you have to do to win the game. To your point, if you have to throw it 50 times, like you do what you have to do to win the game. It's just, I don't think it's sustainable, and it's really, really playing with fire if you do.
What are they right now? 6-2 on the year.
Yeah.
That's 8 games. He started the bowl game. So this will be his 10th college start.
Yeah.
I think that when Brian Kelly talked about this after the A&M game, we'll just talked about not wanting to have to put everything on his shoulders. You're putting all this on the shoulders of someone who's not even into his 10th start yet. Like, look around the SEC. A true freshman in Lagway is not far behind Nussmeier in starts at this stage. Like, this is, despite being around the program a long time, this isn't someone who's got 20 plus starts under his belt. And then it's like, hey, go carry us. Like, he's stepped up for him in some major spots. He's also just turned it over in some major spots. So
For sure.
I keep teetering on this balance of if I think balance, which means a run game is the key to this, or Nuss just not turning it over, because that balance maybe just won't come to fruition and you have
Yeah,
to throw the football.
definitely fair. Definitely, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I do think the Mabanga, Chester, like, are going to have to step up to a degree. They can't be complete negatives here. The offensive line is going to, Emory Jones, who's been, I think, fairly inconsistent this year as a fair evaluation, he's going to have to play one of his best games. So there's still a lot that we don't know.
Mabanga is not going to get run over out there. Brad Davis wouldn't
No,
put him out there. There
no,
are other options that they would have set up to have out there as the backup
yeah,
guard, and he's been the only guy they've referenced. You've said it since camp, so I don't think Mabanga is going to be terrible by any means. LSU
for
isn't
sure.
the only team who's had an O lineman go down. You have to go to a backup or that next guy. I mean, every team deals with it. Step
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, over the past, if you include last year too, they've been one of the more fortunate ones in the country, you could say. But now it is coming to light here. Nussmeier clearly has to just not turn the ball over. Like, it's really that simple. I will talk about it on the other side of the ball, but I think if you make Alabama drive the field consistently, LSU's defense has a shot. But that comes with Nussmeier not having 3 turnovers, not trying to force it. I think this is a defense where if he's patient and doesn't and takes what they give them, they haven't been like great tacklers. I think LSU getting into manageable third downs is an advantageous spot for them. So I think Nussmeier, the efficiency is probably more important to me than the yardage. Depending on how Alabama plays them, we'll see. Like, if they play them like Ole Miss and he has to be a little bit more aggressive or something like that, then we'll see how he approaches it. But ultimately, I still think there's going to be enough opportunities for checkdowns, for second read type stuff. Mason Taylor was not targeted nearly enough in the past couple of games. So I think those are going to be kind of keys for him to look for.
He was pretty big in this game. What, a year ago or 2 years ago?
Yeah. Talk about thrown into the
True
fire. Yeah,
freshman.
last year
I was
I
checking to
was
see if
there.
any breaking news. Nope. Um, yeah, I think that offensively, LSU's off. I don't turn. That's what I'm leaning on. Don't turn it over for Nuss. You cannot have more than one pick in this game, is what I would say.
Yeah. Last thing for me before we flip it, I do also want to not call out, but I want to say the receiver's gonna have to make some plays here. Like this feels
I've
like
got
we
I've got a receiver. Hold on for my
okay.
MVPs. Well,
Okay.
I
All
think they
right.
will.
Okay.
I've
Good.
got one in mind who I think
This
steps
feels
up.
all I'll say is it feels like a game like you can't have Ole Miss where it was like, and to be fair, CJ Daniels was out, Chris Hilton wasn't playing, so it was like Xavier Thomas on the outside. It was
Well,
jumbled up. It didn't feel
yeah.
comfortable. And then A&M first half, you have 4 drops.
A&M was the drops. That you
Yeah.
can't have that.
So I'm just it's on everybody, right? We called out the offensive line, running backs, quarterbacks, receivers going to have to make some plays on the perimeter too against a secondary that, like I said, I don't think is great right now. So that's the last thing on that side of the ball.
I do think they'll be able to throw it on this team, and they'll have to. So
Yes, for sure. All right, let's flip it. LSU's defense versus Alabama's offense. This has gotten a lot of the headlines.
yeah,
Um, I mean, Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams are one of the most explosive duos, quarterback receiver in the country. Jalen Milroe, while I have questions about his accuracy and his decision making, he still has a huge arm and he still throws the ball deep a lot. That's what honestly I looked at the yards per attempt numbers with Milroe, and they are, even though he doesn't complete as high of a percentage on deep balls, he still, when he does complete them, they are significant gains. Ryan Williams is averaging 20 yards per reception this year, which is near the top in the SEC, right behind Trey Harris and Andrew Armstrong, who LSU have played both this year. So that's kind of where I start with this. Is Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams are big play makers, and we'll see if LSU can limit that.
I think that the key to this will be my key to the game too, is putting Bama in third and long situations where they have been one of the worst teams in the country this year. And it has frustrated Bama fans to no end, and the numbers are terrible. Milroe is a guy who already gets pressured a lot. Blake Baker and this LSU defense are going to bring pressure. That's what they've done all season. But when Bama's gotten into third and long, they've been terrible. With 7 or more yards to go, they're at a 13% conversion rating. That's 131 out of 133 teams. That's awful.
Yeah.
LSU on the flip side is in the top 5 in 3rd and 7
No.
on
No,
offense.
I was gonna say on offense, right? Because
On
Nussmeier
offense,
bails them out a lot and
correct.
throws the ball around.
But still, 3rd and 7, they're 4th in the country. Nearly 40% of the time, they actually convert those set, long behind the chain kind of moments. That's what it all sets up to me for. I think you have to just keep coming after Jalen Milroe all night. I know we've talked all week about Ryan Williams. He's amazing for a freshman, for anyone of any age. And then Jalen Milroe stopping the run, all of that. I think you just have to put them into situations where 3rd and long and get off the field, because this is an offense that has felt this year very boomer bust, right? Like, they are explosive, but they can also go out there and lay eggs on drives.
They
And
are sorry, just stats to back you up real quick. They, per college football data, 5th in explosive drive rate and 16th in overall explosiveness. So this is,
so
yes,
that's what they're
clearly.
probably 10 or more yards per, explosive play, like
Mhm.
averaging per play.
Yeah, and the run game, to be fair, like when I think of this offense, like I said, I think of the Milroe throwing the ball deep a lot, or Ryan Williams coming up with a big catch. The run game has also been explosive for them. Jam Miller and Justice Haynes both average over 6 yards per carry, and have been able to pop some big runs. So And then you sprinkle in Milroe, who will have, what, two 15-plus yard runs per game,
Sure.
something like that on average, probably. So the run game is also contributes to that explosiveness. I think LSU's gotten better at not allowing chunk play, clearly, than where they were in the first 5 games of the year. But now that's going to be tested, you know, tenfold
Yeah,
to where
no
they're
doubt.
at. I think it's similar to Ole Miss, maybe, with Trey Harris. But I still think Milroe pushes the ball downfield.
Milroe's a
Maybe,
little bit more slippery than Jackson Dart can
yeah,
be.
Millery is more of a playmaker. Milroe is more of a playmaker than Dart is. Dart excels in that setting and the system and whatnot. I think Milroe can make something out of nothing, and um, it's going to challenge LSU's secondary to stay attached whenever he escapes. It's going to challenge the linebackers to keep eyes on him. Yeah, and then we've talked about it, like the pass rushing lanes is very significant. Like that's where they got beat last year. They were pushing up the field, and then Milroe was just gone, and they didn't have a spy. When they did, it didn't work. That's going to be big in not allowing him to just have free lanes out of the backfield here if you're on the defensive line. So they're going to blitz. I think they're going to do a good job. I think Blake Baker is just the perfect coach in this scenario of knowing how to blitz Jalen Milroe. So I do feel comfort in that.
I wonder, and look, I said it's funny. Both these teams are coming off bye. It seems so long ago that LSU's most recent game was that A&M collapse in the second half. At that same time, Bama had smashed Missouri. I don't think Missouri's any good, but Bama smashed Missouri like
Yeah.
50-0, basically. But in that game, Matty B, they ran it for like 300 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns. It wasn't throwing it all over the field.
Yeah.
It was Milroe had some runs, but Justice Haynes has obviously been a big back for him. Jam Miller has emerged as a big back for him. So I also just go back to like we talk a lot about Milroe. Can they just stop the run game? Because Bama's pretty efficient at running the football, and
Yeah.
LSU's not been great at just stopping the run this year.
Yeah. So that's definitely key. I think the defensive line, we've been so positive on them throughout the year. It's going to be another significant test. I think Alabama's offensive line is very, very capable at moving people around. We'll see how Greg Penn does. The safeties are going to have to tackle. Like we've seen when they've had busted run assignments as a defense, a lot of it comes back to the safeties not being able to be that last line of defense and stop a 10-yard run from being a 50-yard run. Like that's going to be the difference here. It goes back to our explosive plays. It goes back to what you said about third downs. Even in general, I know the numbers on third down and like 1 to 7 are much better than 7 and long, but they're still just overall 66 in the country in third down percentage. So you want to make this offense sustain drives, face like 3 third downs, and show, all right, Milroe, complete a pass on 3rd and 6, on 3rd and 5, be accurate, be on time. That's where I'm interested to see. And then in terms of individual matchups, one that's been talked about a lot, including by me, is Zy Alexander versus Ryan Williams. I do think we get that matchup quite a bit because he was on Trey Harris a healthy amount before Trey Harris left the game. I think they're going to approach it the same way.
He's by far their best corner, so he's going to go up against the best receiver.
Yeah. So we'll see how they approach it with the others and safeties and nickels and whatnot. But that's kind of where you start with, can Zy Alexander continue to be really, really good against the best competition that they face? So that's all the thoughts I have. Anything else on this
No,
side?
I mean, that is my key to the game. Putting I think the run game across the board, even to Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, it needs to be accounted for here from a fan perspective when you think of Alabama's run offense and not just a quarterback. Like they can run the football, but I think it's putting them into these third and longs. If you can stop those runs, if you can somehow put them into behind the chains situations, that's where they're have not shown to have success this year. And on the
Yeah.
contrary, obviously that's going to be the Bama goal for on defense, right? But LSU has been quite successful, top 5 in the country when they get put in those situations. So that's me. I think it's key to the game there is just for both offenses or both defenses is that third and long. How do you look at it? Because it is polar opposite ends of the spectrum on how the two teams have fared on third and long this year.
Yeah. Mhm. Great, great stat. Um, Yeah, and again, shout out to Bill Connolly. He does great work over at ESPN.
His mind just must be melting at all times with the numbers he has. I can only read like like 3 paragraphs, and I'm confused and have to go back and reread it. All right, Game Time, Maddie B, as we do each week. We're sponsored by Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code ON3. That's ON3, the number 3. $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code ON3, ON3 for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Maddie B, obviously, they're going to have tons of tickets on Game Time for this one. The best part is Game Time does have the lowest price guarantee. If you buy it and then find it in that same section for less, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. They've got Game Time ticket coverage. If you're not able to make it for whatever reason, seat views, which I love. Make sure you're not sitting behind a pole or something. All in pricing. You're not at checkout getting hit with a million fees. As if you're watching on YouTube, it appears everyone except the students have tickets for sale right now. There's the band and the students are the only ones who haven't put anything up. But those, I'm guessing, we're seeing a lot of 200 range, 300.
Honestly, 283
I'm
for this, that's pretty good.
Maddie B's got a best view, right? That's the Bama section.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
right
also
behind
see
it's right next to the
LSU
Bama.
fans sit in there often. I don't know if Bama's bringing the band. I would assume so. But if you're a Bama fan listening to the pod right now, some driving down to Baton Rouge, going to buy tickets when you get there. There's still some available in the Bama section, but all over, including the West Side. But it'll be 6:30, so hopefully no sun for anyone.
I mean, they also have I mean, this is also $20 off, use the code. But yeah, they also have, payment plan type stuff.
Yep,
$75 a month there if you wanna
$300 for
go
a
crazy
ticket
for a
with the
night,
two
and
together.
then go crazy for a night and pay it back over the course of the next couple months.
There you go, Maddie B. Smart.
That's what I'd
That's what
be looking
there.
at.
That's LSU education out there, folks. Will take it. That's exactly what we do. Have
There you
fun
go.
now. Worry about it later, Maddie B. But Game Time ticketing app. Download it now before you get out there on Saturday. If you plan to wait till Saturday to get your tickets, that way you can just pull it out, check it. You can get notifications, updates on when prices drop, all of that. So use Game Time promo code ON3. Maddie B. Let's wrap this up with before our score predictions are what player of the game.
Players of the
One on
game.
each side, I guess we'll do.
You
Okay,
said
I'm
you
going
have
to
an
start.
offensive player
I
in
teased. Yeah,
mind.
this is easy. Aaron Anderson. I think he's been LSU's best receiver this year. Statistically, he's right there with Kyron Lacey. He catches the ball. He gets himself open. He can get downfield. We've seen beyond just the short and intermediate stuff. And he's playing his old team, Matty B. He obviously played for Bama his freshman season, or was hurt, but was on that Nick Saban squad. And then a year ago transfers home to Louisiana and was hurt again. And now this is his first time to really get out there healthy and play. I think he puts up some big numbers. Give me a touchdown and at least 70 yards receiving.
I like it. I'm not sure how many times I've done this, but I'm gonna pick Garrett Nussmeier. I
I don't know
think
how. I don't think we have, honestly.
I feel like we
Crazy.
always go receiver, running back, tight end. I mean, because I do think Mason Taylor also has a strong game. I think they need him here, but Garrett Nussmeier. It's been 2 weeks, and I think he is as hard as anybody else on his performance here. LSU fans have not let it go. Garrett Nussmeier contributed definitely to them losing that A&M game. You could argue that he started it with that first interception.
The
Um,
schoolyard fight. You started it with that
yeah,
pick that
yeah,
then it
he's
unraveled.
yeah, he started it there.
Well, he pushed me
Um,
first.
I think Garrett Nussmeier is still the best quarterback in the SEC. I think the advantage that LSU has at quarterback in this game will be realized. Not to say Jalen Monroe is a bad quarterback, but I still think Nussmeier, to your point of third down numbers, like I think that just shows the difference in quality that Garrett Nussmeier is. I mean, that what he's done for this offense to bail them out constantly of third and longs to get them into position to score, and then they haven't been able to finish in the red zone. So give me Garrett Nussmeier to have a really strong game, be a little bit more efficient than he was against Ole Miss and A&M. Somewhere around 55% passing would be fantastic. But yeah, give me over I don't even know what his line's at. Over 320 yards and 3 touchdowns for Garrett Nussmeier. And I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, like,
The
even in a
Nussmeier
good game.
storyline here is the one that could creep up on everyone's 2012 was when
Yeah,
he had Nuss's dad, Doug, took over as OC at Bama. I think McElwain had just left to take a head coaching job, and that's when AJ McCarron went wild that year, and Bama goes on to win a natty, and they absolutely smashed Notre Dame and Brian Kelly.
yeah. I remember
Now
that game.
Brian Kelly has his son and gets a little chance at revenge here. 13 years later, however long it's been, but
Yeah. I remember that 2012 championship game so vividly because I remember being in a rush to get back from basketball practice and like I don't know 13 14 whatever year old me was just it was 13-year-old me was so excited for that game and then it's just a blowout and it was over. So there you go. Yeah, but yeah, Garrett Nussmeier, I even think he, one interception is not a backbreaker here.
no, that's what I
It's
said. I could do one. I can't get it.
like
He's
if he
done
ends with
2 and 3 this year. You can't do that.
correct. So we'll see how it goes. But I do think that Garrett Nussmeier has a strong game here. Defensively, where are you going?
I am going. I'm going Whit Weeks.
I like it. I like it. Don't
Whether
overthink it.
it's finding Milrow or whether it's they send him. I don't have the stats in front of me, but Blake Baker sends him into the backfield at seemingly every play. I just think he's dialed in right now. Greg Pinn's next to him. Greg Pinn knows what to do. He's steady. I think that Weeks is the one that you go and let make some plays. But I was stuck here. I also want to choose like a Shand or a Swinson, like
Yeah.
someone who could really deliver in the pass rush. But I think Weeks cleans up a lot of that this week, where maybe the pass rush gets there, Milrow gets out of it, but there's Weeks, and Milrow can't turn it into a 20-yard run or a 10-yard scamper or whatever it might be. We saw a lot of that out of Weeks with Dart, so I'll pick him to do the same with Milrow.
Yeah. I'll go.
You're going Zai, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Zai. I
Ryan
think
Williams is down there somewhere, has been a strategy at times for Jalen Milrow.
Ryan
I mean, this man has
Williams.
gotten like 18 targets in a game before.
Yeah,
He's
Ryan
on some
Williams.
Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors, like I'm gonna throw it to you 20 times type level.
Ryan Williams is going to get a lot of targets. I don't think Zai is going to be perfect. But I think if you can do enough in this matchup, and I think they probably Bama's going to try to move around Ryan to maybe even get Zai off of him. But regardless, if you tell me Zai Alexander can limit Ryan Williams and then in other matchups just eliminate whatever receiver he's on, I think that goes a long, long way in taking away Jalen Milrow's first reads or at least making him a little bit more one dimensional. Takes a lot of pressure off of Ashton Stamps and the secondary in general. I think Zai has been really good, but I think this is the chance for people to view him in like a different light if he actually delivers and we see him get some key breakups against Ryan Williams because Williams is going to get targets whether he's open or not.
Correct. There's games that he's matched up with solid receivers where they just don't ever throw it Zai's
Correct.
way. Like
And if
he's
that
won
happens
multiple games
again,
where he has not been targeted.
yeah, and if that
On
happens again, then I'm counting this as a win. But
It's
I
not
think
going to
either
happen.
way, Ryan
Not
Williams
if he's
is
on
getting
Ryan
15
Williams.
targets in this game. Ryan Williams is getting double-digit targets in this game. So let's see it. Let's see what happens.
All right, I'm going Weeks. You're going Ryan, or you're going not Ryan Williams. You're going Zai.
No,
Pause. Okay, score predictions. The over/under is set around 58, I think. If you want to talk like what Vegas thinks this ends up being, and with a 3-point spread, it's like 30 to
30 to
27 or
27. Yeah,
something, 30 to 28
30 and a
range.
half, 27 and a half. Um,
I wrote this already. I actually think the first team to 30 points wins if a team gets there, and if both teams get there, the first team to get there wins.
yeah.
If a team gets there, they win. Now that I'm looking at the Vegas line, that's kind of what they're saying too. I think this is a low scoring game. There's too much at stake. I don't think these teams are rolling out there like
I agree.
score for
Like,
score for score for score. It's like 4 games left and both y'all have playoff chances on the line. I think they not tighten up, but They aren't going to play loose out there where you can just turn it over a bunch and lose the game.
Yeah, I'm similar to you here. I don't have it as like a 35-34 game. I don't have it super high scoring. I'm gonna roll LSU 30, Alabama 27. I think they're both I think
That's
both
what I
teams.
went. That was mine.
That was yours.
All right,
You
screw
can
it.
you can
We'll
pick
pick
the
the
same
same
score.
thing. All
Yeah.
right.
I
I
I
think
think
I'll put it this way. I think one of these teams wins by field goal, and I think 30 to 27 is a fair range to put it at.
yeah,
I'll pick LSU because they're at home, and I just don't think this is your normal Bama team. This is LSU's chance to jump on a Bama team.
100%. I do think both teams settle for field goals a little bit more. I still don't trust LSU to finish in the red zone, and also Alabama. I don't think. While I think their numbers are actually better than LSU's in terms of touchdowns in the red zone, I still think that's the spot where LSU's defense really bulks up in terms of not allowing touchdowns. So I could see a game where there is 5 field goals here, and LSU won't botch snaps and miss a bunch of field goals. So that gets me to 30. Alabama at 27. Like I said, if you take away the explosive plays, which is not easy, but if you can limit the explosive plays and make them drive the field, I think LSU comes up with enough negative plays as a defense to force Milrow to be uncomfortable, maybe get an interception or two, get a key sack or two. I definitely think this could be a lower scoring game, and that also contributes because I think both these teams will have to drive the ball, and I favor LSU in that situation. I think the quarterback advantage is substantial. I think they have the better head coach, and then ultimately, this game is in Tiger Stadium, which I think is worth like 4 or 5 points. Like just flat out. If this game was on a neutral field, like this is similar to how I felt going to the Ole Miss game. If
Yeah,
this was neutral
30.
field or something, like if you just looked at the
They would have
rosters,
lost that game at Ole Miss.
yeah, for sure. Like if you just look at the rosters, maybe you do take Alabama. If you this was neutral field, maybe you take Alabama. This isn't neutral field. This is Tiger Stadium. I think we're gonna see some more magic. They'll catch some breaks. And yeah, give me LSU 30-27.
30-27 could also be tied up 24 all, go to overtime. Other team gets the ball first, hits a field
Yeah.
goal, you walk it off. We saw that happen last time we were in Tiger Stadium, Matty B.
Yeah. Would not shock me at all if this
And
game
saw
went to
overtime
overtime.
last time we saw these two teams play in Tiger Stadium.
Yeah. Would not surprise me at all if this game went to overtime. Do not
No,
feel
no, I think this is going to be a close game until into the fourth quarter.
yeah, anybody that says they have a strong feeling on this game, I think
I'd be
is
shocked if one of these two teams blew the other one out.
me too. Me too. Like going into the Ole Miss game, I was like, honestly, like if Ole Miss blew LSU out, if LSU blew Ole Miss, like I saw a lot of different scenarios here. This one, Alabama and LSU are too similar. I don't think honestly they're good enough to blow each other out. Like that could contribute to it. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I think there's two inconsistent teams that are going to hit their stride at different points. Maybe the lead changes a bunch, but yeah, I'm gonna go LSU here.
A reminder, the Whataburger truck, Matty B, will be out there, southwest corner of the stadium on Nicholson and South Stadium, the corner right there. You can't miss it, the big orange truck. They've been taking it all over the country, NFL games, college games. Now they're doing the Baton Rouge stop. So LSU Bama November 9th will kick off probably about 6:40 something. The Whataburger truck will be out there all day. So we'll be stopping by. Make sure that if you're in that area, stop by, grab a burger, whatever it might be, and get fueled up for what is certainly seems like LSU has played this season where like everybody's game starts at 6:30 and by like the start of the fourth quarter every other game ended. So I don't know how, but they get themselves into the longest games of all time. So
Buckle up.
fuel up beforehand, a little Whataburger.
Last thing I'll say, which I forgot to mention, Alabama is 129th in penalties this year, one spot below Ole Miss, and we know Ole Miss had what was that 10 penalties in the
Yeah, it
LSU
was
game.
terrible. Now there's a reason why these games last forever. LSU
Yeah,
and the other team seem to get penalized
yeah.
nonstop.
LSU is not perfect. I think they're like I think they're in the bottom 50 as well in penalties. But regardless, at home, Alabama on the road could elicit some penalties here that swing the game as well. So we'll see. Going to be a fun game, like you said, around 6:40 kickoff, 6:45 kickoff here in Tiger Stadium. Buckle up. Buckle
Okay,
up.
so
It's supposed to
translation,
rain.
key to the game to stopping Alabama's offense. Make them get some penalties, then they're in 3rd and long, then they're not good at it.
Yes. Is it
There's
supposed
the
to
key to
rain?
the game. Yeah, it keeps getting back and forth with this, like, showers, not showers, showers, not showers. Not a hurricane any longer or a tropical storm coming our
Storm.
way, but
Yeah.
certainly some rain coming out of the Gulf on both Friday and Saturday. But I haven't seen anything saying it's, like, consistent downpours. It's just been a lot of chances of showers morning and night. It ain't
That
gonna
would.
deter nobody from being at this one.
Oh no, 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 no! It won't. It would make the game. It would add a different
And
layer
if
to the
it
game.
does, get on Game Time, check for the deals, and people are gonna be selling their tickets. You can get cheap
Selling them off.
tickets.
There you
And
go.
then you can buy a poncho for $1 and have all the fun you want.
Yes, there you go. All right. That's all we got for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed the podcast. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe to the YouTubes, and subscribe to the Bengal Tiger On3. We will be doing a post game
Congrats to
pod.
Matty B, too. You guessed the guest pickers correctly. Levy Dunn and Paul Skeens. The prediction was right. His game prediction won't be right. Oh, wait, we picked the same thing. Oh, I hope it is right.
Well,
But
yeah, score wise, I don't know
I have
if
to root
anyone.
for you this week.
There you go. We're gonna get it. But yeah, Paul Skeens. I mean, it's gonna be
You
that's
called it. You called the
Saturday.
double time. You said it'll be Paul and Livy. That's the best shot.
I think. Yeah, I think. I also did it
Well,
on
Joe's
on.
definitely not coming. Wasn't going to come after last night's game. So X that one off. Move right on down the list of former players.
Yeah. So.
And I
If and
think I'm not sure. I asked Pete Nakos this that she might be the first ever current student athlete to be a guest picker.
wow.
I could be wrong, but I've Googled and I can't find any others. So
Wow. Wow. There you go, making history. LSU. Um, but that's it. Anything else?
good brand advertising for them. In NIL era and Skeens dominating the MLB. They're both national champs. So good to go.
Yeah, the power couple will be on TV. Flage will be on there, I think like 9 a.m. or something like that.
Yep.
There's
I
there's
saw
there's
yeah,
a
that's
lot.
huge for Flage. And then I saw that in the game, I think Simone Augustus is getting recognized. So that the stars are out for this one, just like Ole Miss. The stars will be out.
Yeah, for sure. I wish they had the wristbands again, honestly.
I don't
But
know what their plans are this time. I saw something
is the
about
drone thing
the
happening in the
drone.
game?
Yeah, I've seen
I
it
think
happen
it
with
is.
other teams where they do that.
Okay,
Ole
yeah.
Miss, some others did it. They do like a
Arkansas
million
did it, I
drones,
think.
like make a bunch of different lettering or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got to be fully dark. So I would guess second half. But yeah, during the game.
I don't know. I think it's dark around like 5:30
Now it
nowadays.
does,
So.
right? So.
No.
All right, Matty
Okay.
B. We will see everyone. Well, we're going to be hanging out on the Bengal Tiger. Look, it's $1 right now, and we have been nonstop because Bryce Underwood, Jakeem Stewart, DJ Pickett, Harlan Berry, you name them on the football side, 5 stars are going to be in town, and many, many, many more. But then on the basketball side, Chris Senack, who is no longer playing at Newman, but is considered Louisiana's top prospect and one of the
Yep.
better in recent years, and is a top target for Matt McMahon and this staff. Obviously, Matty B's had the scoop all week, including them doing a little recruiting last night before CNET comes in for the weekend visit. And he will be at the game on Sunday. If folks are going to go out to the LSU basketball game, you can't miss him. He is the guy that's not playing that looks like he probably should be. So give him a shout if you're a student wanting Chris Senack to come to LSU. But we'll have coverage of all that and more. Baseball, Jay Johnson just picked up another commit. Tigers are rolling right now, Matty B. Obviously, women's basketball got a commit from a top 15 prospect this week. So number one class for Kim Mulkey for the second time. But
Yeah,
we've
LSU
got you
rolling.
covered on the Bengal Tiger. $1, and you get all of that.
Yeah.
And Matty B called it once again. Grace Knox.
Grace Knox. Shout out to Grace Knox. Shout out
Checklist.
to Zakiya Johnson.
Dang, you hit on Grace Knox. You hit on Skeens and Livy Dunn. Maybe you will get your score prediction right, which means I'll be right.
I mean, it's about time, considering I've been wrong the last 2 weeks, right? I had Arkansas winning, and then I had LSU winning last week. So
I never thought you'd come back from that, but
I need to get back on.
you'll be okay.
I need to get back on the board here. All right. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back after the game for live, instant reaction. So check us out then. And yeah, we'll talk to y'all then.